Then on Sports Central, we go for our 2022 college football predictions for the Cincinnati Bearcats, a team that had an outstanding season in 2021. This team went 13-1 overall, won the American Athletic, made it to the college football playoff, the first team in the group of five to ever make it to the college football playoff. Ended up losing in the semifinals, but once again, certainly a huge achievement for Cincinnati getting to the college football playoff last season. About this team being 2022, that's what we'll be going over here today. We'll be analyzing this team and predicting their schedule game by game in this video, starting out with your team trends. Cincinnati, 13-1 last season. Once again, a really good season for Cincinnati. This team was a national contender, and we knew after 2020, 2020 was a great season for Cincinnati. They were 9-1 in 2020, which, they made it to a New Year's Six bowl game, and, we kind of knew going into 2021 with the returning production that this team had, things were looking really good for Cincinnati going into the 2021 season, and turns out those high expectations definitely went through, and this team was the first team to make it to the college football playoff in the group of five, which was something that was not, it was unsure as to whether or not a group of five team could even make it to the college football playoff. So Cincinnati definitely silenced all the doubters there. But certainly a lot of things needed to happen for Cincinnati to make it to the college football playoff last season, and certainly going 13-0, winning the American Athletic, being dominant all season long was a big part in that happening. They beat Indiana on the road 38-24, which at the time, that looked like a really good win. The Hoosiers going into 2021, they had some expectations as well. And so for them to end up going, I think they were 2-10 last season, was honestly, that was very shocking. Seeing the Hoosiers play or be as bad as they were, but still, win's a win. Beat Notre Dame on October 2nd, and that was a very crucial win there, beating Notre Dame on the road 24-13. If you were to lose to Notre Dame in that matchup, if you had lost to the Irish in that matchup, Notre Dame would have been in the college football playoff. It wouldn't have been Cincinnati. So, it comes down. Every game is crucial, especially when you're in the group of five or outside the Power Five. And for Cincinnati to beat Notre Dame there, that's what solidified. That was a huge part of the reason why this team at the end of the day was able to make it into the top four. Beat Temple 52-3. Beat SMU 48-14. Beat Houston in the American Athletic Championship 35-20. Houston had a good season, so that was certainly a great win, and ended up playing Alabama in the college football playoff semifinal. Lost to them 6-27, so Alabama did control Cincinnati in that matchup. But in the end, once again, just a great season for this team, making it to the college football playoff. But now looking forward to 2022 here. This is a team that's losing a lot of their key players after the 2021 season, which it just so happened. The Bearcats, this team was set up for a championship run last season. Based on how great the return in production was from 2020 to 2021. And you can look back and you can see, this team looked really good because of how many key players were coming back from season to season. But kind of a different story going into 2022. This team does lose a majority of their key players that made this team so great last season. Desmond Ridder played outstanding for the Bearcats. He put up 3,300 yards, 30 touchdowns, 8 picks, and a 65% completion rate. And he is gone, the starting quarterback for this team from last season. So certainly that's going to be a challenging loss there. Desmond Ridder, he had a huge impact on this team last season. And now it comes down to either Evan Prater or Ben Bryant. Those are your top two quarterbacks, it looks like, as we head into next season. So we'll see who wins the starting position or whether or not the quarterback split time next season. But those are your top two, it seems, as of right now, in Evan Prater and then Ben Bryant. You also lose your top in the backfield, Jerome Ford. He is gone. He put up over 1,500 yards, 20 touchdowns last season. He deserves some credit because last season he was outstanding in the backfield, to say the least. He was the lead rusher by a very large margin. Ryan Montgomery was the second running back on this team, but he put up 300 yards, 4 touchdowns. So he had an impact on this team, but not, Jerome Ford especially had a huge part in that backfield last season. So losing him is going to be a challenge, but Ryan Montgomery coming back, there's some depth in the backfield, so I'm not too terribly concerned, but certainly, once again, losing Ford is going to be definitely a challenge there. Receiving core, Alec Pierce is gone, your top receiver from last season. He put up 880 yards, 8 touchdowns, so you lose him, but you do return your second and third receivers in Tyler Scott and then Trey Tucker. You got Tyler Scott, of course, who put up 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and Trey Tucker wasn't far behind him. So receiving core's got some good depth, even though you lose your top there. It doesn't look terrible. You do have definitely some potential going into the next season, even though you do lose a few of your key players on both sides of the ball. But you lose one on the offensive line, 3 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 3 in the secondary. So defensively, you lose 8 of your starters from last season. So certainly the defensive side of the ball is going to be lacking some depth going into next season. But once again, I mean, this team was set up for a championship run in 2021 based on the talent and everyone being very experienced at their positions. I mean, it was perfect for this team. I mean, that was going to, if there's going to be a season where Cincinnati would be a national champion or even get to the college football playoff, it was going to be last season with how chaotic it was for one, and for two, the amount of talent this team had. It just set up perfectly. But and I do believe that Cincinnati's got a chance to once again be in the college football playoff in the future, maybe make a run at a national title. But certainly, I mean, this team, it's going to take a couple of years to rebuild and try to get back to that place that they were in 2021. But brings up the question, how much potential do the Bearcats have going to next season considering the losses? I do think this team is very much able to win another conference championship next season. I don't think they're going to make it to the college football playoff next year. I mean, I'll just say that right now. I don't think this team is, I mean, the talent just isn't there for this team, and the experience just isn't there like it was last season to make a college football playoff run. But I certainly think this team could be in a near 6 bowl game and get into that and even win a conference championship once again. But that's looking at your transfer portal and recruiting for next season. You don't really have too many notable changes here. You lose an offensive tackle, Mendiola to Bowling Green. Ivan Pace Jr., linebackers coming in from Miami, Ohio. Ben Bryant's coming in, your quarterback from Eastern Michigan. McDonald, Monroe, and Bell. Those 3 players are in the transfer portal, and Bell's going to Old Dominion. And they got Noah Potter coming in from Ohio State, defensive lineman, and then Corey Kiner, running back coming in from LSU, who's definitely, he's going to be an impact player. Keep an eye on him. But recruiting-wise, not too bad. 42nd in the nation. You're first in the American Athletic. You got 3 4-stars coming in and then 16 3-stars as well. But that said, let's look at your schedule now going into next season. I mean, it's a challenging schedule at first. I mean, you got Arkansas on the road. Certainly, I mean, that Arkansas game is going to be a challenge going to Fayetteville there. I mean, to be honest, looking at your schedule, that's probably going to be your toughest game of the season, of your regular season there, is going to Arkansas. Otherwise, it's not terrible. So yeah, if you can beat Arkansas in week 1, that'd be a massive win, because the Razorbacks, I mean, they're going to be at home there. Plus, I could see the Razorbacks being an 8 to 10 win team once again next season. So they should be a good team. Kennesaw State after that, and then Miami, Ohio in a neutral location. You got Indiana coming to town on the 24th, the second game of that home-and-home series. In October, you got Tulsa on the road, South Florida at home, SMU on the road, UCF on the road. Then in November, you got Navy, East Carolina, Temple, and then Tulane to finish out your season. So looking at September here, Arkansas, I'm going to favor the Razorbacks there. I just feel like in week 1, when things are, I mean, for Cincinnati, this is a, once again, very young team. And going into week 1, I do think, I mean, there's going to be a lot of adjustments. And I think for Cincinnati, it's going to take a couple of weeks for them to get back in their rhythm. But I do think Arkansas, with the talent that they have returning, right out of week 1, I could see Arkansas being a really good football team. So I'm going to favor Arkansas there. I mean, especially considering it's in Fayetteville. You got Kennesaw State and Miami, Ohio, both easy wins. I can take care of both those teams by a couple of touchdowns. And then Indiana, I'm going to put that game in yellow, but certainly want to favor the Bearcats there. Indiana, they look pretty terrible going to next season with what all they got going on. I mean, once again, it was shocking to see them go 2-10 last season, and I don't think it's going to be much better in 2022, to be totally honest. So I'm definitely going to favor Cincinnati in that one there. So you're 3-1 heading into October. You got Tulsa on the road. I'll favor Cincinnati there in a closer one. South Florida, easy win. SMU on the road. I'll keep that as a close one, but certainly favor the Bearcats. Honestly, I feel like you're going to lose to either SMU or UCF. It's just a matter of who. You're going to win against one of those teams and lose against one of those teams. And in this situation, I've got you beating SMU on the road, but losing to UCF the next week. Even though the Bearcats skill-wise are about the same or better than UCF, I do think that UCF does win that matchup. So you're 6-2 heading to November. And honestly, November, you should take care of all 4 teams pretty easily. Navy, East Carolina, both easy wins. Temple on the road. Temple, I mean, it's a road matchup towards the end of the season. Potentially that one is a sneaky one. Potentially Temple makes a run and is an upset bid for Cincinnati there. But I do think Bearcats pull that one out in the end. And then Tulane to finish out the season, easy win as well. I do think, Tulane last year was not very good. So I'll take the Bearcats to take care of that matchup. So I got you at 10-2 next season, which I think is certainly reasonable. I mean, if you can get to 10 wins, that should be, honestly, I feel like that should be a good thing. That would be a good thing for this team, considering some of the inexperience. That really sets you up well for the future as well. I mean, you're going to have a lot of talent returning, considering how young this team is going into 2022. You should have plenty of talent returning for 2023. So, I mean, in a couple of years, the Bearcats potentially can make yet another run at the college football playoff and be a national contender once again. But I think next season, it's going to be back to trying to compete to get to a New Year's Six bowl game and winning a conference title. So 10-2 to 11-1 is certainly my record prediction for the Bearcats. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below on Cincinnati, and I appreciate you guys watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. Catch you on the next one.